Welcome back to the program. Let's keep rolling. I got to at least weave in one other topic. The race for New York City mayor is heating up, and Democrat candidate Zohran Mamdani just scored a key endorsement that could shift the dynamics of the campaign. Joining to break this down is Dustin Olson, senior pollster at American Pulse Research and Polling and podcast host, here to analyze all of this. And I just got to ask before we get into it, we've been obviously remembering Charlie Kirk. Do Democrats think that their brand is helped by some of the real harsh stuff that they're saying?
Oh, well, you'd hope that they wouldn't, but we've watched this for years now where they've created this media environment that makes Republicans, conservatives, Christians, Donald Trump to be existential threats to them. And it's not surprising that after all of that we would end up in this situation after last year having the 2 assassination attempts. So it seems to be this is where they've been moving for a while. And you would hope that the more senior voices in the party would reject it. But I think there's a database now of 20,000 plus like regular people who have been celebrating his death, which is horrific. So obviously, there's some people within their party that actually this is motivating for them.
All right, so let's talk. I mean, just real quick, do you think this is going to have any effect on the mayor's race here, New York City?
It does in some ways. You look at, one of the things that I think for myself personally that I got in the last week is that Charlie Kirk had become such a leader for the party. I don't like it when people call him a commentator or influencer. He really had become an organizational leader. The RNC farmed out their Get Out the Vote to Turning Point last year. It was very controversial at first because people had never seen that happen before. So he really had become a young leader, but also just a leader in the party. You can see that Mamdani is becoming that for the Democrats at this point. He really is the biggest name for their party right now. And I think with the governor coming out and endorsing him, what you're seeing with that is that you're watching the Democrat Party actually transform. In many ways, they're no longer a national party. I expect that they will win further elections nationally, but you do see this transformation from the party from a traditional Democrat party to being the Democrat Socialists of America. When you have Kathy Hochul deciding to get behind him, I think you're going to see other party leaders follow her lead, and you're watching that the continuance of that transformation.
I wonder if her endorsement is with the express knowledge that he can't really raise taxes in the city without the approval of the state government. So maybe she thinks no point in opposing him. I can restrain him. But is there even a chance? I mean, he's got double digits on Andrew Cuomo and triple digits on Curtis Sliwa. I mean, this almost seems like the die is cast.
He doesn't have triple digits on Curtis Sliwa, but actually, I think that it's possible you'll see in the next. The problem
Curtis is he's at 46% and Curtis is at 15%.
Yeah, in our polling, we actually have Mamdani at about 37%, and we have Cuomo at 24%, and we have Curtis at 17%. So actually, Curtis and Cuomo could actually possibly swap where they are, depending on what happens. What the problem is for Cuomo is he keeps losing his Democratic base, and every time he flirts with Republicans, he loses some of his strength. This is the problem, and this is what is going to likely get Mamdani elected. Mamdani does not have a majority of the populace supporting him. In fact, we really need to focus on policies, because when you get into those policies, on all of our polling, a majority reject his positions on the Antifada stuff and on the BDS stuff, as well as the government-run grocery stores. But the thing that we found was the most powerful in this race, and we're talking about violence across this country, not just political violence, but just the rampant violence like you saw in Charlotte with the young woman being just brutally stabbed. This is a concern for New Yorkers. 85% of New Yorkers say that crime is a problem. Nearly 50%, it's like 48.7%, say it's a serious problem. And when you talk about the defund the police and other radical positions on crime that Mamdani has, 58% say they're less likely to vote for him. So these are the things that need to be focused on by the candidates. I don't see that Cuomo is the guy who can do it because he keeps losing support. Curtis Sliwa, it's hard to imagine, but at this point, he's probably the only one who can do it. But really, I think New Yorkers are probably in for a tough go of it for a few years.
Is it because Adams and Cuomo are just so damaged? I mean, if there was a more thoughtful Democrat in the race, I mean, I mean, imagine Chelsea Clinton was in this race or something. I'm not saying she's thoughtful, but I'm just saying somebody that isn't as radical as him, but not nearly as damaged. I mean, Cuomo had to be run out of the governor's mansion because he was, sexually harassing women, and his brother was using CNN to try to cover it up. So, I mean, if there was a sensible Democrat who was in this race, you think that person would be pushing ahead of Mamdani at this point?
Totally. I think so. When you talk about the issues and then you test again, Mamdani loses to anyone else. So I do think that it's possible that if you had someone, the problem is we looked at favorability. Do you find this person favorable or do you have them unfavorable? And that typically the net favorability is predictive of the future. And for Mayor Adams, who I don't have a real problem with personally, but his net favorability is negative 34, 35 in our polling. That is huge. Like Joe Biden, who was still highly unpopular, he never really got below negative 17. That is, you can't come back from that. Additionally, with Cuomo, I think he's at negative 14, negative 16 on that. That's indication that he's only going to continue to go down in the ballot numbers in future polling. The only person who's improved is Curtis Sliwa, but not too much, but he has improved. And Mamdani is basically stayed about the same. So he has a positive net favorability by about 4%, which means that nobody's really unleashed on him, which by that unleashed, I mean purely in advertising and talking about these policies. And that's really what has to happen to change the dynamic of the race, because even New Yorkers, which have a third, are pretty radical, that support the Antifada stuff and support the government-run grocery stores. They don't support, only 20% to support the fund the police stuff with Mamdani. So that really is the issue to go after. And if people start putting advertising behind it, the race could change quickly. And maybe Cuomo has a second chance, or maybe Curtis Sliwa, who made his career on fighting crime, could have a chance. But it really has to come down to that issue. There's nothing else that's going to move things that well. But there is a third to a quarter of the population there who do support these radical things, which is shocking to most of the country.
The Cuomos helped create the Clintons. When Mario Cuomo was encouraged to run, some stuff about mob ties was going to come out, and he basically brought Bill Clinton in. The Upper West Side of Manhattan never would have voted for what they considered some Rube hillbilly governor from Arkansas. So he gave them credit, gave Clinton credibility. Clinton turned around and made Andrew Cuomo his HUD secretary.
Yep.
But, I joke about Chelsea Clinton. If Hillary Clinton were in this race, she would walk right into that. I know it'd be a downgrade for her running for president twice, but she'd walk right in and be the mayor.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely an opening here, but I don't want to take away from what Mamdani's done. I started off talking about he's kind of become the Charlie Kirk. There's one thing that they do understand, both of them understood, is that there's a group of younger voters who have become disaffected, especially on economics, and that is what Mamdani has been able to really tap as well in the New York City area, and that is really kind of the future of politics. I would say follow the energy in any situation that kind of predicts what's going to happen. And I think people like Mamdani and others in their party are telling you where the Democrat Party is going nationally over the coming years.
All right, Dustin, thanks for the time tonight.
Absolutely.